The Winona Sports Network welcomes you to Thunder Talk. Thanks to Arcadia Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. Get all the dirt from Mississippi Thunder Speedway. Direct from Dan Bailey.
Hey, race fans, welcome to another edition of Thunder Talk on the Winona Sports Network, 99.3 FM, and streaming live on WinonaRadio.com. This is episode 347 of Thunder Talk, and we are preparing ourselves for another great night of green flag action at Mississippi Thunder Speedway. A lot going on tonight, actually. Season championship night presented by Oz Lifting Products. Not only are we going to be crowning track champions at Mississippi Thunder Speedway in all 6 of our regular weekly divisions, the USRA Modifieds, the USRA Late Models, the USRA B-Mods, the USRA Stock Cars, and the USRA Hobby Stocks, as well as the MTS Eco Mods. But we are also going to be crowning the champions of the RaceandDirt.com Thunder Summer Series. That's the 6-week mini-series within the 2024 season for Modifieds and B-Mods. The Modifieds racing for $2,000 to win, not only for the feature, but also for the championship. The B-Mods racing for $1,000 to win, not only for the feature, but also for the championship. So as you can see, a lot of excitement coming into this, the final green flag action of the month of August at Mississippi Thunder Speedway. And joining me on this week's 347th edition of Thunder Talk is a gentleman who is battling for not 1, but 2 track championships this weekend. We'll give you the details in just a moment. First, welcome to Thunder Talk, Matt Larson, driver of the number 8 USRA Late Model. Matt, welcome to this week's edition of Thunder Talk.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So as I mentioned, you are not only battling for a track championship at Mississippi Thunder Speedway, you're also battling for a track championship at Cedar Lake Speedway, and this is your first full season behind the wheel of a USRA Late Model. Coming into this year, did you have this sort of expectation that you'd be battling for track championships?
Not really. I really thought there might be a chance maybe at Cedar Lake and, run top 5 in national points and, run Mississippi Thunder every here and there and run maybe Eagle Valley every year and there. But the further the year went on, the more I realized that I really had a good chance at really winning both these track championships and having an opportunity to win 2, and especially at 2 tracks that hold a lot of meaning to me from a driver's point of view. So it's definitely a cool thing to be able to lead both of those.
So a lot of people recognize your name because of the success on the World of Outlaws Tour and at Cedar Lake Speedway and kind of all over up here in the upper Midwest that your family has enjoyed. Of course, you're the son of Brent Larson, and there's a cool photo on your Facebook page. I would love people to go take a look at it. It's an aerial shot of 3 late models sitting side by side by side. Explain that photo to us and tell us why it's so significant.
It's just a really cool deal. I mean, it's really rare that you get to see 3 generations go racing together. Especially, my grandpa's 70 and, my dad's on the road a lot. So it's one of those cool deals where you can get a picture like that with everybody around and with fresh cars. And it's just one of those deals that you don't see very much. So that's really cool for me. It's very significant to me, too. I mean, that's one of the coolest things, in my opinion, is being able to have the ability to have all those people around, especially, with my dad and grandpa there, the history with just those 2 alone is a lot, and it's good to have that in my corner.
Growing up as a 3rd generation racer, did you kind of get the feeling like you were going to end up behind the wheel of a late model? Did you think it was almost a foregone conclusion? Was that sort of a plan in the back of your mind? Someday I'm going to be piloting a late model just like Dad and Grandpa?
Growing up, I mean, it was always there, and I never really thought it was going to happen for a while, and I raced quarter midgets for, a year and a half, and on and off, and it wasn't really my thing back then, but I started traveling with my dad back in, I believe, middle of 19 to end of 20 and half of 21, I believe, so about 2 full years, and right then and there I kind of fell in love with the idea of driving a race car, and we put some together between my dad, grandpa, and I, and we just started working on it and put it all together, and it's just one of those cool deals.
You know, I have heard from racers who come from a racing family, especially those who come from a racing family with a successful father or grandfather or uncle or whatever, two different types of stories. One scenario is where the successful dad or uncle or grandpa gives a lot of tips, a lot of information, a lot of guidance to the young up-and-coming driver. Another story that I have heard is where the elder statesman from the family, the dad or the uncle or the grandpa, whoever had the success, says, I want you to try to learn this on your own. So what's been the scenario in the Larson family? Has dad and grandpa been there regularly to give you tips and tricks and advice, or have they tried to take a step back and let you learn this and figure it out on your own?
I get a lot of help, I mean, with like the car stuff especially, but just driving the car wise, I mean, my dad and I, we do drive very different. He's a lot more smooth and well polished than I am by far, but you know, it's good to get tips off them and learn how to drive different ways, especially at different tracks and in ways to just grow and get better. As long as, you know, he's around, and even when he isn't in town, he's still paying attention to my racing and does whatever he can to help me prepare myself, just with car-wise on the track, but also mentally on how to attack the track properly and be in the spot I need to be at the end of the feature to have a chance to win.
Do you guys talk often about each and every race? Do you try to dissect? I mean, I know that he's busy with his own racing program. Grandpa's got his late model as well. Do you get a chance to really take a look at some of your races and try to figure out, you know, what went right, what went wrong, where you can improve, where you're doing things right? Do you get a chance to really look back on your races?
Sometimes we like to sit down and watch some and kind of critique a little bit and learn, especially with how different my driving is from his. I think that we can learn a lot from each other off of watching each other race and how we adapt our cars and our driving styles to how similar our stuff can be at some point.
You had mentioned earlier when I was talking about potentially picking up 2 track championships this year at Cedar Lake Speedway and, of course, at our own Mississippi Thunder Speedway. You had also mentioned about kind of peeking in at the national points. And here you are at the end of August in the battle for not only those track championships, but also potentially a USRA Late Model national championship. The defending national champion, Cade Nelson, has just a 32-point advantage over you know, coming into this weekend. Are you focusing much on those national points battles, or are you just a driver who figures, I'll do what I can on the track and let those points lay out where they will?
I guess it comes and goes on the day. I mean, with championship night coming around, it's really just focus on the night and have a good night and, you know, make sure I can keep myself in the position to win both of those. And once the track points are over, it's going to be really down to strategically picking and choosing where I go and how I race and where I start in the field. And there's a lot of strategy behind it that a lot of people probably don't realize, especially with the points format. But it's always in your head a little bit. I mean, if I win both track championships, I'll bring it down to only 12, and that's going to be pretty low margin in general. I mean, you can make up 10 points in one night if your car is really good. So, I mean, there's that opportunity there for sure. So
this may sound like a strange question, especially to somebody who's not in the heat of the battle, maybe a casual fan who might be listening. But we've talked about potentially 2 track championships and potentially a national championship. Now, you had mentioned that Mississippi Thunder Speedway holds a certain place in your heart, but there's a lot of history for the Larson family at Cedar Lake Speedway. So, of these 3 potential championships, Mississippi Thunder Speedway, Cedar Lake Speedway, and the national championship, which one is going to mean the most to you?
Man, that's a hard question. I really don't know. You know, Cedar Lake has been where I grew up my whole entire life. I mean, I've been to about every single race that my dad's raced since I've been born. So it's hard to not say Cedar Lake, but I mean, seeing my dad lead outlaw races at Mississippi Thunder and just in the past being so good there in mods and just everything in between. I mean, I really got to lean with Mississippi Thunder over all of them. I mean, and especially with the competition this year, the competition at Mississippi Thunder is like no other, especially for the area. I mean, racing with Brad and Justin every night is not an easy feat for sure.
Yes, it's interesting the level of competition that you are up against, as you just mentioned, and a couple of the names that you just mentioned are pretty stout racers in their own right, so that would, I can understand, make this maybe pretty special. So have you started thinking about your long-range plans? Is your time behind the wheel of a USRA Late Model going to be a limited time frame? Or you think you're going to do it again next year? Are you looking towards getting into some open late model competition? What sort of future plans do you have for yourself? I know it seems weird to be asking you this question relatively early in your career, but you've shown your success already. So are you starting to think long range about your racing career?
To a sense. I just try to keep it within the year, and once the off season comes around, maybe we'll reevaluate. But we're really hoping to go run all of Winona Challenge Series next year, and maybe go run some USRA shows, and maybe go run some 604 shows around a little bit of the country and the surrounding region around here, and hopefully get a few open shows in between the weekends I have open. But just gonna try to get a little bit of everything next year and just keep myself behind the wheel. And that's honestly one of the most important things, especially in one of these late models, is yourself sharp all the time and ready for any track condition and keeping your body in good shape to be able to race as much as you can.
You had mentioned earlier when we were talking about that photo of you and your dad and your grandpa's late models set up next to each other, and you got you three all in the photo as well. You had mentioned how important that was to you, and how much you look up to both of them. What other drivers colored your youth? Were there other drivers that you looked towards or even cheered for, even if they were battling against your dad or grandpa? Were there other drivers that you kind of liked rooting for?
There is. Especially with the national stuff, I got really, really close with a lot of people on national tours, and I would say Chris Madden definitely has had a big impact on my racing, and him and Ricky and Goose, they're always wanting to hear how I'm doing, and if they can ever help, they try to, give me little tips and tricks and advice on how to either drive better or maintenance stuff a little bit better or do my tire work a little bit better. I mean, I'm always learning a little something new from them, and it's hard not to cheer for Chris whenever he's out on track. I know that he's retired as of now, but now it's hard to not cheer for Thornton because he's working for him. So, but those are just guys that, Chris is one of those guys that really shaped me into kind of who I want to be as a racer for sure.
Well, you are in the midst of a great first full season behind the wheel of a USRA Late Model. I know we've mentioned it a couple times already, but potentially 2 track championships being wrapped up this weekend. One at Mississippi Thunder Speedway, one at Cedar Lake Speedway, and you're right there in the hunt for the USRA Late Model National Championship. With a successful year like this, I'm sure that brings smiles to the faces of those local and area businesses who are supporting your racing efforts this year with the number 8 late model of yours. So tell us about the sponsors on the number 8. Who's helping you out this year?
Well, first off, I got to say my dad, my grandpa, they put a lot into what I do, and they, whether it's just working on the car with me or helping me get to the track, putting money into it. But I just got to start with Hanco and Motul. They're both really good. Hanco distributes Motul oil, and Motul hopped on with my dad a few years ago, and it's been a really good deal with them. Their oil is about the best we've ever been able to find. And BA Roofing, Victory Home Team Real Estate, Reaper Consulting, Cody Elmer Design, Steel Factory, Drive Shaft Shop, just all these guys that help out. I mean, there's so many things that all of them do for me and my dad that, it's hard to believe that we get the support we do from these guys sometimes, but it's one of those really cool deals.
Well, I tell you what, Matt, we sure appreciate you taking some time to chat with us this week on Thunder Talk. I know you've got a lot headed your direction today and tomorrow night at Mississippi Thunder Speedway and at Cedar Lake Speedway, battling for those 2 track championships, and then, of course, looking towards that potential national championship as well. We wish you the best of luck at both tracks and at any more green flag action that you are able to fit into your schedule through the remainder of this season. Again, Matthew Larson, driver of the number 8, joining us on this week's edition of Thunder Talk. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, don't forget, race fans, coming up at Mississippi Thunder Speedway, Oz Lifting Products presents Championship Night. Not only will track champions be decided in all 6 of the regular weekly divisions, but we will be wrapping up the RaceandDirt.com Thunder Summer Series, that 6-race mini-series that's got a $2,000 to win price tag for the modifieds and a $1,000 to win price tag for the B-mods for both feature winners and the series championship. So hope to see you at Mississippi Thunder Speedway to enjoy Championship Night presented by Oz Lifting Products at Mississippi Thunder Speedway.
Tune in next week for all the dirt from Mississippi Thunder Speedway with Thunder Talk on the Winona Sports Network. Thanks to Arcadia Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram.